Girl saves white lion cub from thirst. What happens minutes later is shocking. The sun beat down mercilessly on the Ajusco Nature Reserve, on the outskirts of Mexico City. The drought had turned the usually lush landscape into a palette of browns and yellows, with only the hardiest plants maintaining their green hues. Sofia Ramirez, just 11 years old, was walking alongside her father, Eduardo, a biologist with the Wildlife Conservation Program, when a faint whimper caught her attention from some bushes dried out by the drought that had been plaguing the region for months. "Dad, listen, there's something there," whispered Sofia, stopping her father with a decisive gesture. Her intense brown eyes shone with curiosity and determination, a look Eduardo had come to recognize as his daughter's discovery face. It was the same expression she'd had when finding a rare orchid last month and a family of pygmy owls the expedition before. Eduardo stopped, adjusting the binoculars hanging from his neck. The afternoon heat was oppressive, making their routine survey more challenging than usual. The little girl had always had a special ear for detecting sounds that others overlooked, a skill that made her invaluable during these monthly monitoring expeditions. While other children her age spent weekends glued to screens, Sofia preferred the unpredictability of nature. Sofia didn't wait for confirmation. With determination, she cautiously approached the bushes, pushing aside the dry branches with her small hands. What she found left her breathless. A lion cub, white as snow, lay panting among the branches. Its eyes, an almost transparent crystal blue, looked at her with a mixture of fear and pleading. Its pink tongue hung from one side of its mouth, clear evidence of severe dehydration. "Dad, quick!" shouted Sofia, urgency reflected in her voice. Eduardo arrived in seconds, as surprised as his daughter. There, in a region where lions shouldn't exist, much less an albino specimen, was a cub that appeared to be only a few weeks old. "It can't be," murmured the biologist, crouching to examine the animal without touching it. "It's an albino lion cub, but how did it get here? We're thousands of miles from its natural habitat." Sofia didn't waste time on speculation. From her pants pocket, she pulled out her stainless steel water bottle, a gift from her father on her last birthday, with the inscription "Nature Protector" engraved on the side. "It's dehydrated, Dad," she said with certainty. "We need to give it water right now or it won't survive." Eduardo hesitated for a moment. Protocol indicated not to interfere with wildlife, but this was clearly not a normal case. The cub wouldn't survive more than a few hours under the relentless sun. "You're right," he finally conceded, "but let me do it. It might get scared and scratch you." Before he could finish his sentence, Sofia had already poured some water into the palm of her hand and was gently bringing it to the little lion's mouth. To the surprise of both, the cub began to lap up the water desperately. "Slowly, little one," Sofia whispered tenderly. "If you drink too fast, it will hurt you." While the cub drank, Eduardo examined it in more detail. It couldn't be more than 6 weeks old, with pure white fur and just a yellowish tint at the tips, confirming a case of albinism, a genetic rarity that made it extremely vulnerable. Its paws, disproportionately large for its body, indicated that it would become a considerable specimen if it survived. "It has no identification," observed Eduardo, carefully checking the animal's neck and ears. "It doesn't seem to be from any zoo or reserve." "Do you think it was abandoned?" asked Sofia, outraged. "It's possible. The illegal exotic species trade is a serious problem in the region. Maybe someone bought it illegally and abandoned it when they realized it's not a pet." The cub finished drinking and, to their amazement, tottered towards Sofia, rubbing its head against the girl's leg. A sound similar to a purr emerged from its small throat. "It's thanking you," Eduardo smiled. "We'll have to take it to the station for Martina to examine it." With precise movements, they wrapped the cub in a light blanket, leaving its head free. To their surprise, the little lion offered no resistance. It seemed relieved to be rescued. "Can I carry it?" asked Sofia. Eduardo hesitated but agreed when he saw the trust the animal had shown toward her. Sofia took the cub in her arms, and it nestled against her chest, closing its blue eyes as if finally feeling safe. Upon arriving at the biological station, they were greeted by Martina Lopez, the wildlife veterinarian. Her weathered face, tanned from years of fieldwork, bore the lines of someone who had witnessed both the wonders and tragedies of nature. Her eyes, usually calm and methodical, widened at the sight of what Sofia carried in her arms, the professional composure momentarily giving way to pure astonishment. "Ah, my God! Is that what I think it is?" she exclaimed, putting down the clipboard she had been reviewing and approaching them with measured steps, as if afraid a sudden movement might make the impossible vision disappear. An albino lion in Mexico. I never thought I'd see this in my career. Not here, not in the wild. The station, a modest building of stone and wood designed to blend with the surrounding forest, suddenly seemed too small to contain the magnitude of their discovery. The afternoon light streamed through large windows, illuminating dust particles that danced in the air like tiny stars, creating an almost mystical atmosphere around the white cub. "Ooh, an albino lion cub severely dehydrated," confirmed Eduardo, his scientific mind already cataloguing everything they would need to document. Sofia found it near the dry stream. If she hadn't heard it. He let the sentence hang in the air, the unspoken alternative too grim to voice in front of his daughter. The three of them knew that finding the cub even an hour later might have meant finding only a small, still body among the bushes. When Sofia tried to place the cub on the examination table, it clung to her, refusing to be separated. "Seems like you've made a friend," Martina smiled. "You can hold it while I examine it." The diagnosis confirmed severe dehydration and moderate malnutrition, but no serious injuries. Eduardo notified Profepa, who would send a team the next morning. "Dad, what's going to happen to it?" asked Sofia, stroking the lion's head. "It will likely be transferred to a rehabilitation center," he explained. "Because of its albino condition, it's very vulnerable in the wild." "Can't it stay here?" insisted Sofia. "We could take care of it." "It's not that simple, sweetheart," Eduardo began. "A lion is not a pet. It needs specific care." The explanation was interrupted by a sound that left them silent. A roar, faint but unmistakable, came from outside. The cub immediately raised its head and responded with a desperate mewl. At the window, they saw an astonishing sight. About 50 meters away, a young albino lioness watched the building intently. Her white fur shone in the afternoon sun. "Is that its mother?" asked Martina, amazed. "She's too young to be its mother," replied Eduardo. "Maybe an older sister. What's amazing is that she tracked it here." The cub continued making calling sounds, trying to free itself from Sofia's arms. "We have to let them be together," exclaimed Sofia. "He needs her, and she needs him." Eduardo decided to try with extreme caution. He went out first, then signaled for Sofia to follow with the cub. Martina kept a tranquilizer ready, just in case. What happened next was extraordinary. The scene unfolded with the dreamlike quality of a nature documentary, yet with an intimacy no camera could ever capture. When Sofia placed the cub on the ground, it wobbled toward the lioness, its small white form a stark contrast against the earth-toned landscape. Its steps were unsteady but determined, like a child running to its mother after a brief separation. Time seemed to slow. The humans held their breath. The birds fell silent. Even the wind appeared to pause, as if nature itself wanted to witness this improbable reunion. Upon reaching the lioness, the older feline bent down with a grace that belied her predatory power. With infinite gentleness, she began to lick the little one, her rough tongue smoothing the cub's ruffled fur with maternal care. The juxtaposition was striking. the fierce predator capable of bringing down prey 3 times her size, now delicately grooming the vulnerable cub. The little lion responded by rubbing against her, emitting sounds of joy that carried clearly across the distance between them and the humans. The sounds were unmistakable to anyone who had spent time observing wild animals. This was not just recognition between 2 members of the same species. This was family, this was belonging, this was coming home. Sophia watched with tears streaming freely down her cheeks, making no attempt to wipe them away. In that moment, she wasn't the daughter of a scientist trained to observe and document. She was simply a child bearing witness to something profound and beautiful. Her father placed a hand on her shoulder, his own eyes glistening with emotion. Even Martina, who prided herself on her professional detachment, couldn't hide the trembling of her hands as she lowered the tranquilizer dart. The lioness raised her gaze toward them, her blue eyes settling on Sophia with what seemed like a message of gratitude. Then, with a fluid movement, she took the cub by the neck and began to move away. Before disappearing into the vegetation, she looked back one last time. The news caused a stir in the scientific community. Genetic analysis confirmed the lions belonged to an African subspecies never officially introduced to Mexico. Theories about their origin multiplied. For weeks, Sophia accompanied her father on expeditions, hoping to see them again. Camera traps occasionally captured nocturnal images, white silhouettes moving together among the vegetation. A month later, under a starry sky, Sophia asked if the lions would be okay. "Thanks to you, they have a chance," Eduardo responded, hugging his daughter. "You saved that cub's life and respected its wild nature, even though that meant letting it go." Sophia smiled, understanding that sometimes the greatest act of love toward nature is allowing it to follow its course, even when that means saying goodbye. Somewhere in the reserve, 2 white silhouettes moved among the shadows, free, wild, and together, as it should be.